Right, 10 May 2024. And today I've got the last update of the week. We've been doing very, very well this week. And thank you very much to everyone who has given us their support. So today I want to have a look at what has been happening in Zanu PF. It's very, very critical what is happening in Zanu PF. And you are going to see a major move within a very short space of time on General Chiwenga. And this is because the government of Mnangagwa has eventually collapsed. So everything that I've been saying here has now come to pass. So I want to look at the ZIG. This is where everything is starting. So the ZIG has collapsed. As of yesterday, that the ZIG is now trading above 20. So you can have a look at the graph that the market surveillance of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has put out. So the ZIG is now failing. And this is before they even put out the bigger denomination notes. So the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has admitted that the ZIG has failed. And the reason why this is important is that the Mnangagwa government was due to collapse last month. As I explained to you, everything in Zimbabwe was bound to collapse last month before they put in this stopgap measure of the ZIG. And you were eventually going to see food shortages, you're going to see hyperinflation, and then eventually people were going to resist the Mnangagwa government. And this is going to come very, very shortly. Within the next month, you're going to see things that you've never seen. Yesterday, Mtuli has introduced controls. They've put back controls. As I explained, they've put out a statement and a statutory instrument that they've issued, which has prohibited companies. So if you look at this SI, it has prohibited companies from charging exchange rates that are different from the ones that are given by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. All these things are leading to one thing, which is the collapse of the Zimbabwe government. The collapse of Mnangagwa's government is upon us. However, the big action is not going to take place in the opposition. The big action is going to take place in Zanu PF. And what Mnangagwa is trying to do is to put in place his sons. Particularly, Kuda Mnangagwa has emerged as the son that he wants to put into office. So Kuda Mnangagwa is being prepared to take over from Mnangagwa. Initially, it was Emerson Jr. who was supposed to take over, but Kuda Mnangagwa is now being prepared to take over from Mnangagwa. And yesterday, they finally appointed Kuda Mnangagwa in Zanu PF structures. So if you look at the Zanu PF structures that were announced yesterday, Kuda Mnangagwa is now the Deputy Secretary for External Affairs in the Youth League, in the National Executive, together with this guy. I was showing you this guy yesterday. He has also been appointed in this structure. So if you look here, you see that he's over there. So let's look at where they've appointed him. Munganasa is the Secretary for Local Government, and he's from Masvingo. So you have an appointment of Kuda Mnangagwa back in the structures of Zanu PF. This is the first time this has happened. He has never been in these Zanu PF structures. And they're preparing him to take over from Mnangagwa. So we are going to see a big move to push Kuda Mnangagwa up the ranks within Zanu PF and eventually to push him to the presidency. But before this can happen, before young people like Kuda Mnangagwa can become president, you have to remove the obstacles, which is people like General Chiwenga. General Chwienga is next in line. And I know that what I'm explaining to you here is difficult to understand, how someone can just jump from being no one to eventually taking over as president. But it's going to happen. There is going to be a decisive move on General Chiwenga within the next few weeks. This is not going to take long. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to see a move having been made on General Chiwenga, because General Chiwenga is next in line. However, whoever makes the first move, so between the Chiwenga faction and the Mnangagwa faction, the person that is going to make the first move, that person is going to succeed. And I don't know if General Chiwenga is capable of making the next move. There is a plan that is going to be put in place for General Chiwenga to be removed from the equation because he's next in line. But the situation has collapsed. So the situation in Zimbabwe has collapsed, and this is starting with the zig. I explained to you that the zig is not going to last, and this is the graph from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. The zig has started to collapse, and within the next few weeks, the parallel market is going to be over 50, eventually over 100, and we're going to go to over 1,000. And at that point, you're going to start seeing shortages in the shops. You're going to see things that you've never seen before, and the situation is going to collapse. Mnangagwa has lost control of the situation in Zimbabwe, and it is going to become apparent. The things that I'm telling you here are not going to happen in private. You're going to be seeing them in front of your own eyes. You're going to see all the predictions that I'm giving you here taking place. The situation in Zimbabwe is impossible. And Mnangagwa's projects are not finishing. So the soldiers, this week, they had to go and visit Mbudzi interchange. So I want to show you what happened here at Mbudzi. So the soldiers went from the Zimbabwe National Defense University, that is the trainee officers. They went to look at the Mbudzi interchange. So currently the situation is like this. This is what the Mbudzi interchange looks like. This is the most finished bridge at the interchange at Mbudzi. And eventually it needs to look like this. This is the plan, what Mbudzi interchange needs to look like. But currently it's only looking like this. Nothing is finishing. Anything that Mnangagwa has started is not finishing. And people have lost hope in Mnangagwa. No one supports Mnangagwa. Yesterday, Passion Java, he was getting the assistance of Zanu PF to try to fill the National Sports Stadium, and it didn't work. No one showed up. If you look at the pictures here, this is how bad the situation was. Before the busing, they tried to bus people into this stadium, and no one showed up. Eventually, at the end of the day, it was just a waste of money. I understand Passion Java spent 1.8 million, and this is what it ended up looking like. So people are not buying the Zanu PF propaganda. But as I said, the actual change that is going to happen in Zimbabwe is going to come from Zanu PF within a very, very short space of time. You're going to see a sudden and dramatic move on General Chiwenga as Mnangagwa prepares to put in place his sons, particularly Kuda Mnangagwa here is going to play a key role. And as I showed you, Mnangasa here, I don't know if it's Mnangasa, let me get this name correct. I keep getting this guy's name wrong. This guy is going to play a key role. He is part of Mnangagwa's plans. He's also from Masvingo, and he's been appointed in the announcement that was made yesterday. Charles Munganasa, he is going to be a key part of the plans that Mnangagwa has got. The guys from Masvingo, they're going to move on General Chiwenga if it does not move very fast, if it does not move fast, because the situation has deteriorated. You must see this in the context of the deterioration of the situation in Zimbabwe and the failure of the ZIG. The ZIG was Mnangagwa's plan B, but that has failed. And the ZIG is going to dramatically and spectacularly fail. You're going to see it, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. When this happens, everything will take less than a week. So I'm predicting to you that everything that we're talking about here is going to take less than a week. The ZIG has collapsed in less than a month. So less than 1 month. So everything else that is going to come, you must see it in the context of a short and decisive change or rapid deterioration. There's going to be a rapid deterioration in Zimbabwe within the very, very short future. But look at Zanu PF, look at Kuda Mnangagwa, and look at how General Chiwenga reacts to the situation. Because besides what Mnangagwa is doing with his sons, there's also the Kembo Mohadi factor. Kembo Mohadi is playing a key role of trying to neutralize General Chiwenga. So the factions in Zanu PF, they are now openly fighting. You're going to see an open fight within the Zanu PF factions. Now that takes us to Nevo Mchangwa. The police have finally issued a statement on Nevo Mchangwa. So Nevo Mchangwa was arrested with 2 other people, and he's going to be appearing in court today. His mother, Monica Mchangwa, has issued a statement in which she accuses Mnangagwa of attacking her politically. So what I expect is that within the next week, Mnangagwa is going to come out and fire Monica Mchangwa officially. I know she's been already fired. She's already outside the country. So Monica Mchangwa and likely Christopher Mnangagwa are probably outside the country right now. They are no longer around in Zimbabwe. So I expect Mnangagwa to make an announcement within the next week to say that Monica Mnangagwa is no longer in office. It no longer makes sense. She has attacked Mnangagwa publicly in the voice note. We've put the voice note on Gambakwe.com, where she says Mnangagwa is attacking her. So you're going to see that Mnangagwa is going to move on Monica Mnangagwa. But it's not only Monica Mnangagwa. There is widespread unhappiness within Zanu PF. And as I said, look at Zanu PF. That is where everything is going to happen. There's going to be massive unrest within Zanu PF within a very short space of time. And it will all end up with attempts by Mnangagwa to put in place his sons. So that is the long-term game plan. Mnangagwa wants to make sure that by the time he leaves, his sons are firmly in place. They're in control of the Zanu PF structures, and they're also in control of the government structures. So it's going to be very, very interesting as the two factions fight each other. So the two factions are going to fight each other openly. And this will all happen in an environment where there is food shortages and there is going to be currency deterioration. So watch this graph. Next week, we're going to come back here. This is officially from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, which shows you what is happening on the market. The ZiG over 20 within this short space of time. The ZiG has crashed to this level within their week. So this past week, the ZiG has officially crashed to this level, and we don't even have the large denominations yet. So this is all happening on the electronic balances. And when I talk about electronic balances, most people don't understand. So let me explain to you how the ZiG is crashing. And so listen very carefully to what I'm explaining here. Let's say you've got this phone, right? This is an S24. It's costing 1,000 ZiG. And then next week, you change the currency to ZiG2. And this phone is still costing 1,000 ZiG. But I change the price and I make it 2,000 ZiG. Now you've got 2,000 ZiG. You no longer have 1,000. Sorry, you now have 2,000 ZiG2 instead of 1,000 ZiG. This is what has happened. People have just continued to increase prices on the goods that were existing during the time when there was the Zimbabwe dollar. So electronically, there is a huge amount of ZiG that has been created, that is suspended and hanging, and it's waiting to just be dumped into the market. So that is the electronic ZiG due to existing goods in the market that have increased in price. So the pricing has changed. So eventually when I buy something in a shop, eventually that shop owner has got more and more ZiG. It's almost as if the ZiG is coming out of nowhere. Like it's a bunch of ZiG that is coming into the market, and the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe does not know where all these things happening. Additionally, when the banks changed from the Zimbabwe dollar to the ZiG, there was no proper audit to say how much ZiG did we have in the past, Zimbabwe dollar did we have in the past, and how much ZiG do we have now. So what this means is that the banks have dumped and created fake ZiG, and all these things are going to materialize and show up in this graph. So the graph that the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has got here, this is in the Standard newspaper, I think. So you can go and have a look at it. This graph shows you that initially, this thing, the parallel market was almost the same. But from April 24 to the period where we are now, which is around 5 May, the ZiG is now almost at 20, and it's projected to go higher. No one knows what is going to happen because they do not know the impact of releasing the large denomination notes. So there is going to be a collapse, and the rules that they've put in place, the new rules that they've put in place, is going to chase people from the formal market. So no one wants the ZiG. Yesterday, there was a demonstration at Kotko where the drivers or people on transport were refusing to accept payment in ZiG. So you are seeing a catastrophic and parabolic collapse of the ZiG, and also a total loss of control by Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is losing control of the situation. And all this thing is going to play out within a very, very short space of time. So I think I've covered this. Kuda Mnangagwa, a key part of the plan of Mnangagwa for his future. Kuda Mnangagwa has been appointed into Zanu PF structures yesterday. He's now the Secretary for External Affairs, or Deputy Secretary for External Affairs. And he is in the national executive of his Zanu PF Youth League, which is going to play a key role with Manganasa here, who was appointed at the ZBC this week. So Mnangagwa is making a move. Mnangagwa and his faction, they're making massive moves. And they'll soon be going after General Chwienga. You're going to see an attack on General Chwienga within a short space of time as the situation continues to deteriorate, especially if General Chwienga doesn't have a plan, because he's next in line and he is an obstacle to the plans that Mnangagwa has got to make sure that he continues in office. And there are going to be many victims. And Christopher Mchangwa, Monica Mchangwa, Nevo Mchangwa, you're going to see a lot of people falling by the wayside. Mnangagwa is going to clear the house if he's allowed to do so. But let's see how the other side reacts. Because as I said, the Mnangagwa side, the Chwienga side is very strong. Chwienga has got a lot of backing. There's a lot of unhappiness among people in Zanu PF about what Mnangagwa is doing. And generally, the whole country is leading to a lot of instability. We're leading to a point within the next few weeks where the confusion with the ZIG is going to result in open chaos. You're going to see open chaos on the market in Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa is not going to be able to hide what is happening, the collapse of the situation. So I want to now go quickly to a few stories that are on the newspapers. And then we want to start, obviously, with Passion Java. Passion Java, very embarrassing what happened yesterday. He was unable to fill the stadium. And this is because this whole thing was backed by Zanu PF. And as I said, Nevo Mchangwa, he spent 2 days in jail. He's going to be appearing in court today. This afternoon, Mnangagwa is going to be presiding over the burial of Mazbaba Ezekiel Musiiwa Chaunoita here. And as I explained to you, he's got more than 13 wives. In fact, more wives came out yesterday. You can see that we now have a whole bunch of wives here. And I counted more than 19 wives here. And I think the number is going to continue growing. I've tried to ask my friends in the apostolic sect to give me details about what's happening with Mazbaba Chaunoita or Mazbaba Ezekiel. And what I've realized is that yesterday they went to Murewa, to his home, his rural home. And these guys are struggling. People who work with Mnangagwa are struggling. Doves had to put up tents here. And you can see that the actual home of Mazbaba Ezekiel was not very well. He's got, most of the Zanu PF guys are struggling. Their homesteads are a disaster. That is all I can say. The burials are showing us how people around Mnangagwa are struggling. They don't have proper homes. I don't know what Mnangagwa is doing with the money. These are the kids of Chaunoita here. They spoke to ZBC yesterday. So I can just refer you to the ZBC broadcast. They're over there. And most of the people that work around Mnangagwa are literally struggling, especially when they retire. They do not have anything. You saw what happened with the soldiers, the generals that I showed you. They're all struggling, and it's very difficult. So the situation that they're seeing is difficult for everybody. No one is enjoying the situation in Zimbabwe. Then Makamba here, James has reopened Blue Ridge Spa. So I want to see if we can find more details about what is happening. He has issued a statement to say he is back and has opened his Blue Ridge Spa, which was closed during Mugabe's days. So he had a dispute with Mugabe. Then if we go to South Africa, there is a sad situation developing in South Africa. And this is currently, there are 44 people who are missing, who've been trapped by a building. Dr. Clarence issued a small video yesterday showing what happened. This was a luxury apartment that was being built in George, Western Cape. And this building was initially supposed to have 3 floors. But the developers of this building eventually got permission to add 2 more floors at the top. but there was no foundation at this building. So there was no foundation, concrete foundation. They built directly on the ground, on clay. So that is what is being said. This building was built on clay. And the people who were responsible for this building are these two gentlemen here. So that is Carol Swanepoel of Pacific Bridge Trading, a subsidiary of Neo Trading Trend Group, and Tinas Kruger, the owner of Leatel Developments. So what happened is that after the building collapsed and 44 people were trapped, these two gentlemen have ran away and they've disappeared and they can't be found. The Department of Labor is looking for them. They can't find them. And the architects of this building and everyone is denying responsibility. No one wants to take responsibility. The engineers, structural engineers, are called Mitchell and Associates. These are the structural and civil engineers, and they are refusing to take responsibility. Everyone is saying someone else caused the problem. And we've got many, many people potentially from Zimbabwe who are under here. So if you look at the people who I'm putting on the screen here, that is Patrick Maseko and Martha Shava. They are waiting outside the building to see if their family is going to appear. Their family member. They've got someone who's under there, Chiwenga Mango. And I think that name sounds Malawian to me. So I don't know if these guys are going to find anyone in that building. We've got massive problems that are happening in South Africa, especially if you look at the Western Cape, it looks very organized. But my experience is that there is quite a lot of corruption actually taking place. This thing that you're seeing here is corruption. This building took 8 weeks to get to this level. And that is impossible. If you are doing a proper building, you can't take 8 weeks to put up a 5-story building, because even a single-story building, you have to allow the cement to set. So they do not allow the cement to set. And as I said, they were building on clay. So that is why the building collapsed. And we're going to see who is under there. Over 44 people are said to be down there, most of them undocumented foreigners. And we do not know if it's really 44 or if it's more. And the gentlemen responsible, as I said, are these two here. The one on the left, Carl Swanepoel, is the owner of Pacific Bridge Trading. And the one on the right, Tinas Kruger, is the one who was responsible for development. And they bought this land for 3.3 million, started developing, and we now have the situation that we have right now in George. And we're going to see how many Zimbabweans are down there. So I want to now go to the newspapers. And as usual, there is always something interesting in the H Metro newspaper. So I'm going to show you a story in the H Metro newspaper today. And this is to do with Oliver Mtukudzi. Another child has appeared. And the H Metro newspaper has shown us the new child of Oliver Mtukudzi. And here is the son. He says he wants to find his father. So this guy is Oliver Mtukudzi's son on the right, and the mother is on the left. She said she's the mother, and she was in love with Oliver Mtukudzi here. So Tuku's hit song was for my son. So in one of Oliver Mtukudzi's greatest hits, a song full of affection and reflections, which struck a chord with millions of local music fans. Now a woman has come out with the sensational claim that that song was for his son. The song was Azure Rudo Handina. So that is the story that is in the H Metro newspaper. And as I said, I won't be reading for you all the details because I don't want to pay $2,000. And then I want to show you another story, right? This story is very important. So I want to explain to you here. There is a story of men that are pretending to be women in Zimbabwe because of poverty. So they act as prostitutes. And the reason why they act as prostitutes is that most guys, when they meet a woman, right, they just, especially Zimbabwean guys, they just look at that woman, right? Is that a woman? So this is for my friends here who are who always watching. If you meet a woman, most Zimbabwean guys will just take her in the house and go in the dark. So that is very dangerous. And that is why guys end up with this kind of situation where a guy is pretending to be a woman, and he keeps going with many different people. And there are many, many people who are doing that in Zimbabwe, who are pretending to be women when they're actually guys. So take your time, like, to know people. And in fact, don't use prostitutes. That is the simple advice. You cannot be using prostitutes in this day and age. I don't get it. I don't see the point. But obviously, there are lots of guys using prostitutes. So you can go and have a look at the Ash Metro newspaper and see all this information that I've been telling you about. But let's recap. And I want to make this very clear. So I know that most of you don't understand when I'm telling you something in advance. You think it's a theory, but it's not. Mnangagwa's government has collapsed. So let's understand what I just said now. There is nothing functional in Mnangagwa's government. And soldiers, police, civil servants, their salary is going to zero within the next month. So the salary of a civil servant is going to zero. And this is going to happen in front of your eyes. Then what is going to happen is Mnangagwa and the Zig, the day the Zig goes to zero, Mnangagwa, I've said this to you many, many times. People are not going to accept this. You're going to start seeing food shortages very, very soon if they insist on trading only the way that they've said here, that you cannot trade at the rate that you want. And you're going to see a shortage of Forex. So as less and less Forex becomes available, more prices go more and more, and you eventually end up with a massive problem. And that is what I call the collapse of Mnangagwa government. However, Mnangagwa is not going to allow himself to be removed easily. So there's going to be a massive fight within Zanu PF. So the fight is in Zanu PF. It's not going to be with the opposition, because the opposition currently does not have the capacity to remove Mnangagwa. So between now and the next month, so mark this day, I told you again last month. So I told you in April, that Mnangagwa's government is collapsed. How many days is it taken? 10 days. And the Zig is already collapsed. So the Zig was an attempt, and now it has failed. And when I say it has failed, I'm giving you the numbers from the RBZ. This graph is from RBZ. Within the past 10 days, the Zig has collapsed by almost double. And this is what is on the market. I'm not making this up. This is a Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe market graph. This is the graph that they've made. So the Zig is going to go to zero, and there is going to be food shortages, but Mnangagwa is going to try to cling on and hold on. But as the situation gets worse and worse, you're going to see an attempt by Mnangagwa to make another change. So there's going to be another massive change coming on, and there are going to be victims. And I foresee an attack on General Chwienga within the next few weeks. There's going to be an attack on General Chwienga as the factionalism continues. So there's going to be massive factionalism in Zanu PF. And you are entering a period where there's going to be a lot of fighting within Zanu PF. And eventually, Mnangagwa's plan hinges on Kuda Mnangagwa. That is where he sees his next move. That is the next move. Mnangagwa is not going to manage third term. And young men like this one, who are being put at the ZBC, they're being put there for a reason. So they did not put him there for nothing. That is why you see that they've also appointed him at the same time as Kuda Mnangagwa in the Zanu PF National Youth League executive. This was announced yesterday. So Munganasa, I don't know what kind of name this is. Munganasa, I don't get it. But he is very, very key to Mnangagwa's plan, because they will need a lot of publicity, and they will need to outshine General Chwienga. And Kuda Mnangagwa is a key part of that plan. You're going to see a massive development going forward, and you're going to see a massive instability, not only in Zimbabwe, but in Zanu PF. There's going to be massive changes taking place within the next few weeks. And it all starts with the collapse of the Zig. The Zig has collapsed. This thing is not coming back. So don't think the Zig is going to reverse. This thing is going to crash more. And as it crashes more, the blame game is going to start. And Mnangagwa is responsible. Mnangagwa is responsible for the Zig. Mnangagwa's plan was poor. And Mnangagwa is going to get a lot of backlash from his own people over the Zig. but he's got a plan. So let's go to the comments. I don't want to keep going here. I think I'm on 30 minutes. I'm supposed to have ended here. Cheche said, "Kana nyaya team writer tinopa ID 3 months rava papi, or you guys are just doing this or taxing people to follow your pages." Yes, Mnangagwa government is collapsed and everything's not working. You watch this space, and I'm not talking about theoretical things here. The SIG, the date goes to 0, Mnangagwa is out. You will see it happening. And we are at a critical moment because nothing is going to happen in private. Everything is going to happen in the open. And then Mkoma Glot said, "I suggested to you that you make all the South Africans aware of the connection between Zanu PF and ANC." Yes, that can be done. Everyone knows that the ANC is going to be in trouble. They're not going to win this election. And then Mkoma Mtungama said, "Mkoma Gambakwe, spreading positive news can foster trust in ZIG. Your influence can contribute to a more favorable position of the ZIG." So Mtungama, I want to show you where the Reserve Bank said what they said yesterday. This is the graph from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. It's not from me. This is where the ZIG is. It's over 20 right now as we speak. Officially, on the black market, the ZIG is trading above 20. So I don't want to spread fake news to say the ZIG is doing well when it's not. And this takes me to Professor Gift Mugano. You can go to Twitter and look at his analysis from yesterday. This thing is not coming back. We are in for a big ride. And Zanu PF and Mnangagwa, they are responsible. You are going to see that things are going to go very, very badly for Mnangagwa in this past month, in this coming month. Then actually, ED is sitting on a time bomb. He is the one who set the countdown. Think that will keep rigging his way will not work. Yes, but the opposition needs to do something. As I am saying to you, the game is in Zanu PF. So watch Kuda Mnangagwa, watch General Chiwenga, watch what Mnangagwa is going to do given this situation. And that is very, very important. And then Mkoma Maponga says, "Thanks Gambakwe for Nevu Mchangwa is interesting and different." Yes, true. But as I said, Monica Mchangwa and Christopher Mchangwa, they've already left the country. And Nevu Mchangwa is already 2 days in jail, is appearing in court this morning. You are going to see an announcement on Monica Mchangwa. She's going to be fired after she attacked Mnangagwa yesterday. That is going to happen, and there's no other way about it. And then, in response to your letter about Pastor Masai. So we've sent the letter to the Commissioner General of Police, Matanga, to give us an update on Pastor Messiah. So the letter was sent electronically, and all government departments, their emails are not working. So yesterday we were to physically take the letter to police general headquarters. So our courier, I've sent my courier from here to take the letter to Zimbabwe. So they should have it by Monday at the latest. And we expect an update on what happened to Pastor Tafmane Messiah. We've also contacted the guy who was responsible for hiring the cars that abducted Pastor Messiah. And we've made that information available to the police. So there is one of Scott Sakwanya's people that had 3 cars that were used in the abduction of Pastor Messiah. And those names are already given to the police. The police, they know. I have WhatsApped the guy here, and I'm going to share his number next week. If he hasn't responded to me, I'm going to try to call him and confirm what was his role in the abduction of Pastor Tafmane Messiah. You must understand that everyone knows who did what. And eventually, people are going to end up arrested. Mark my word, Pastor Messiah will not be killed in vain. His killers are going to eventually face the music. And Pastor Messiah was campaigning for a CCC candidate. He was not a danger to anyone. He was not a senior official of the party. He was just on the ground. And Scott Sakwanya, I've contacted him and talked to him in person. I personally talked to him, and he knows about this issue. So let's see what happens. And Mnangagwa is responsible. I've also copied Mnangagwa the letter to say they must give us an update on the investigation into the death of Pastor Tafmane Messiah. Because when Pastor Messiah died, they did not allow the family to turn the body over. So the family went there and tried to turn the body over so that they could see what the body was like. The body was badly decomposed, so the family was not able to see the extent of the injuries, if there were any missing parts, all those kind of things. So we also requested the post-mortem. And in that letter that I wrote, we say they must give us the post-mortem report. They must do a proper investigation. I've also written to the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights. And we're going to ask them to assist us to take the case forward, which is to take them to court. And there are laws in Zimbabwe which allows a person like me to go and say the police must provide that information, especially the media. There is actually a law which allows us to go to court to request that information. And I'm the right person to do it. If I don't do it, no one is going to do it. And I know all of you guys are looking forward to what will come out with. And if you get killed, so the reason why you guys must support us, if you get killed, do you know who's going to be following up on you? Me. I'm the same guy that will be following up to make sure that your death is investigated. And I know that many people think that they won't be killed. Of all the people that are watching me here, there's 900 of you. Don't all think, if you sit at home, you're not going to be killed. Things are going to happen in Zimbabwe. You're going to go on a bad road and you're going to crash and die. You're going to get hungry and have a disease and go to hospital and not find medicine and die. Do not be a coward. To me, you're very valuable. Don't put yourself on the path of death. Let me tell you something, Komaglot. I won't be killed by anyone. I can assure you that for effect. And this is Ishwa, and the Batwe say Ishwa. I can assure you that for effect. If you can see me, I've got no fear at all. I'm like clear of what I'm saying here. We're going through a massive change, and that fear that is among you young Zimbabweans is what is keeping us within this situation where things keep getting worse and worse, and you lose control of the situation. The death of Pastor Tafumane Messiah is happening in the internet age. It's not like when Zamara was killed, where it was in the shadows. Support these efforts that we're making sure that the police, they do their job. Matanga, Nyati, ask them this question every time you see them. Are you police or are you thieves? So that is the question that I ask Matanga. And Matanga is seeing me every day. And Nyati is seeing me every day. So everyone knows that they need to check and investigate the death of Pastor Tafumane Messiah. And we are not afraid of asking and demanding that this be done. And Mnangagwa watches here every day. He must investigate. And all the people in the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, Jesima Jome, do not just drive the Ford Ranger. You need to investigate something. What is Jesima Jome doing over there? If she can't investigate the death of Pastor Tafumane Messiah. Guys at the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, we're going to come to you there for assistance. And if everything else fails, when SADC comes into Zimbabwe, I'll personally be there in Zimbabwe. There are people right now who are ready to demonstrate during the time of SADC. And this is going to happen. SADC is only in a few months' time if Mnangagwa is still in office. And we'll make sure that this is done. We'll make sure that Pastor Tafumane Messiah does not die in vain. And also, on top of everything, Pastor Tafumane Messiah, Mukuru, don't let these people get away with it. Pastor Tafumane Messiah, I am personally informing you kuti vanhu venyu ava havasi kuinvestigator. So Pastor Tafumane Messiah must deal with the vanhu ava ana Scott ava vanhu vesa. We want to see them getting what needs to come to them. They need to get it. You don't kill a person like you're killing a fish or someone that is coming from nowhere. So everything is going to come together, and eventually we are going to see a resolution of this death and abduction of Pastor Tafumane Messiah. It's going to be sorted out. So I would like to thank everyone for watching here. This is our last broadcast for the week. Since there is a funeral today and the burial of the National Heroes Acre, I'll probably come back in the evening if there's something dramatic that happens, and I will be updating you in the evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and a good day.